The ordinary idea which we have before we become Christians is this. We take our starting point, our ordinary self, with its various desires and interests. We then admit that something else has claims on this self, claims which interfere with its own desires. Some of the things the ordinary self wanted to do turn out to be wrong. Well, we must give them up. Other things, which the self did not want to do, turn out to be what we call right. Well, we shall have to do them. But we are hoping all the time that when all the demands have been met, the poor natural self will still have some chance and some time to get on with its life and do what it likes. As long as we are thinking that way, one or other of two results is likely to follow. In the end, you will either give up trying to be good, or else become one of those people who, as they say, live for others, but always in a discontented, grumbling way. Always wondering why others do not notice it more, and always making a martyr of yourself. And once you have become that, you will become a far greater pest to anyone who has to live with you than if you had remained frankly selfish. The Christian way is different, harder, and easier. Christ says, "Give me all. I do not want so much of your time, and so much of your money, and so much of your work. I want you. I have not come to torment your natural self, but to kill it. No half measures are any good. I don't want to cut off a branch here and a branch there. I want to have the whole tree down. I don't want to drill the tooth, or crown it, or stop it, but to have it out. Hand over the whole natural self, all the desires which you think innocent, as well as the ones you think wicked, the whole outfit. I will give you a new self instead. In fact, I will give you myself. My own will shall become yours." These are not my words. These are the words of C.S. Lewis in a book titled Mere Christianity, which I remember my father reading when I was a teenager. I cannot remember if he recommended it to me, or if I simply wanted to emulate someone I saw as a smart man, but at 15 years old I read it. I remember thinking it thoughtful and articulate, and as years passed, years in which I would fall out of love and back in love with God, it occurred to me over a decade later to reread it. To anyone who felt I would unite with Lewis's message, I ask you hold your thoughts. And to anyone who heard Lewis's message and felt in any way seen, I am sorry. In this, Lewis articulates what he sees as the essences of Christianity, and in doing so, he depicts humanity as a flawed, dirty thing, not only broken, but created inferior. In a prior chapter, he compares God's creation of humans to man's creation of tin soldiers. He goes on to say that if you were to take a tin soldier and try to make it a man of flesh and blood, he would be afraid of the transformation, feeling that the flesh would spoil the tin. But the transformation is necessary. Nothing can remain. To be called to Christianity is to be unmade and remade in the image of God and lose what we are in the process. I would like to take a moment to share some words of my own, something I would write years before I would return to Lewis. The choices I've made to change are but a thin coat of paint over a crumbling cathedral, one whose foundation has long been compromised with rot. These superficial changes will not fix me. A change of decor will not save the church from crumbling. It must be torn down, rebuilt from its very foundation. Would that I could do that to myself. I would burn myself alive in the sun's cleansing flame for the sake of the better me to live, the one who is worthy, the me who is perfect. The second worship I ever attended at Bethel was on December 1st, 2024. In it, Pastor David began his Advent series for the year, beginning with the theme, "You are a blessing." In my own mind, there was an unspoken second half to the sentence. You are a blessing when you act like it. You have the capability to perform great things, and anything less is failure. I knew that the beautiful soul that God had given to me resided within me, and was ashamed that it had to be twisted and deformed within the ugly shell of my own humanity. To be worthy was to become perfect, and to become perfect was to suffer. It would be months later that David would begin a series titled, Good Enough, Embracing the Imperfections of Life and Faith, where he challenged the idea that a human's worth is based on effort. where he stated that the worth of a person is not in the constant striving, the attempts to achieve some goal, the vision of theoretical potential one could be if they were to achieve divine perfection, that to be worthy is not earned through suffering, but given by the very nature of existence, that we were each beautifully made by God exactly as we are. When I look around this church, I do not see failures. I do not see tin soldiers cowering in fear as they line up to be made flesh. I see people who have invited me with warmth and compassion from the first day I arrived. I see people who dedicated their time and their energy and their love to the betterment of everyone in their reach. I see people who are openly living with the compassion of God. And as I have seen each and every one of the people here doing not only this, but with a smile, I realized for the first time in my life that living a Christ-like life is supposed to be a joyful act.
Yes.
Amen.
Living the purpose that God has given us is not a sacrifice. It is not a compromise of who we are. We need not perform to earn God's approval. We already have it. And what we need to live a Christ-like life is already inside of us. We live with the compassion of God inside us at every moment. And we know when we're living it, not because it feels like we've smothered the worst parts of ourselves, but because we are living in truth with the good that naturally resides in all of us. We feel joy, and we feel Him rejoice with us when we share our love with others. This is why Bethel is my home. Because I finally know the meaning of unconditional love. Because I finally understand how to be a good Christian and a good person without need for fear and hatred. Because I am surrounded by a community that lives and acts with the love of God and knows that to bring the light of God into the world is to inspire peace, oneness, and joy for all people. To be recognized as a saint is a lengthy process. It can take years or even centuries, an entire person's life exhumed and scrutinized for proof of miracles and absence of doubt. But the title saint is simply an epithet. May we look to our fellow saints, not as paragons which reflect our shortcomings, but as testament to the righteousness in all of us. And may we continue to nurture the spirit of holy joy and oneness that resides in our community at Bethel. Thank you all for being my family.